Good evening and welcome to another episode of Blood, Sweat, and Tears presented by the Fantasyholics Podcast Network. With us, as always, is Castle Black Brian Bruner, wide receiver one room Zach Rom, Mr. Oviedo here. We were having a guest on tonight, Tyler from Unhinged and Unbiased, but with the weather all across the country, I mean, everybody's a little turned upside down at the moment, so we'll hope to get him on another week here in the near future. Man, is there a crazier historical NFL career path than Sam Darnold? He might be the most interesting quarterback I can ever, any player ever. Third overall pick, moderate success, if you want to call it that, in New York.
Yeah.
Completely discarded by New York, completely discarded by the Panthers. A little bit of momentum in San Francisco. Now he has a 14-win season in Minnesota. Loses in the playoffs. Like, oh, I told you Sam Darnold sucks. Now here he is leading the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. It's incredible. I can't think of another quarterback or a high pick with a roller coaster career like this guy's.
I brought it up last week, man. Watch that Lions game that, ended their season or whatever you want to call it last year. It wasn't on him, man. I mean, of course, some of it was, but he was just getting pressured out the ass. They had Jefferson completely blanketed. He had no time to throw. I don't think any quarterback would have done anything in that scenario. I just remember thinking, after how good he looked, that one game shouldn't just erase that. And it almost seemed like it did for a lot of people that, he sucks. He's Sam Darnold again. Nope. He had another 14-win season, gave JSN one of the more successful seasons ever, and just went for fucking 356, 3 and no picks in the NFC Championship. So yeah, good for Sammy Darnold, man. I gotta love seeing somebody that went through that many struggles come up and do well.
Yeah, it was a great game to see. It was a much more interesting game to watch than the Patriots game as they come out on top against the backup quarterback for the Broncos. It was close there for a little while, but the snow and weather just kept it down, whereas the Rams Seahawks was so high flying. Seeing Sam Darnold, seeing what he did, it was great. And yeah, he's really solidified himself more as, a good starting quarterback. It's sure the Seattle defense is very strong, but him and JSN have been amazing together. Amazing to watch, amazing to see that. Yeah, it wasn't all his fault last year. The game, I actually think it was against the Patriots about seeing ghosts where he threw like under 100 yards and 4 picks. Like that doesn't mean that's who he is now versus the pressure he had then, the weapons he had then. Like, it's completely different here, and he's proven that.
Yeah, that first game was brutal.
The only other person that came to mind was Baker Mayfield, but he had success with the Browns. He was more successful earlier, and he's kind of on the same path if he can make it to the Super Bowl with the Bucs. But two fascinating stories.
Yeah.
I mean, the Broncos almost got it done. They still almost won with, I think I saw the stat of they had 30 or like 32 complete or total yards of offense in the second half. The game was 10-7, right? Was that the final, 10-7?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was. They couldn't get anything going in the second half, and it was. If you look at the picture, I think it was 6 minutes left in the third, versus like the start of the fourth. Just how much snow had come down.
Yeah,
that was impeding everyone. It just slowed everything down. Defenders seemed to be getting on top of wide receivers and running backs that much faster. Like, it was. Yeah, it was a very defensive game for sure. Granted, a lot of young players on both sides of the ball that played into that too.
For sure. It was not the fun type of snow game. Like there's some snow games that are still exciting and fun to watch. And we had the what was that the Bills Bengals game earlier this year. It was like a
Yeah.
whiteout, but it
Oh.
was just like scoring back and forth, back and forth.
Yep.
I think way back to my Eagles versus the Matt Stafford Megatron Lions at the lake with just 2 feet of snow on the ground. But LaShawn McCoy had an all-time historic game because he just found the right cleats and just had his footing. And it's like no one else did. But that game was fun as hell to watch because it was like watching McCoy play Madden. This was not fun to watch. I mean, especially with like no dog in the fight, I don't really give a shit who won between the Broncos and the Patriots. So I'm just like, wow, I wish this game was more exciting considering I only get 2 more football games for the rest of the season after that one. But I mean, it is what it is. You beat the teams in front of you. You play in the weather that you're playing in, and congrats to the Patriots for a trip back to the Super Bowl after such a long wait.
Yeah, I know there are second graders who haven't seen the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's such a long time, but
Disaster for them. Yeah,
I would have loved that game to have been in Foxborough just because they got like 1.5 feet, 2 feet of snow. I would have loved to have seen them playing in that, trying to get the stadium cleared for everyone. Like that would have made it a fun snow game. Just seeing how much snow it was and combating there, but yeah, it was a little rough.
Yeah, the Eagles have played 2 awesome snow games. They had the game versus the Lions, and then last year versus the Rams. It's
that was awesome.
nice to have a up north team with the outdoor stadium Colts.
Yeah, forgot about that. Barkley had that monster game against them in the snow. Yeah, this was not one of those games, but I guess we already said plenty about it, but we can talk about it in our little breakdown, who we got in the Super Bowl, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. So, excuse my voice today. Getting over a cold. I have a bunch of throat lozenges. I'm going to try and mute when I cough, which is going to be often. But we're here coming at you. Nothing's going to stop us. We're going to dive into our playoff breakdown, dive a little into the championship games and into the Super Bowl. We'll talk about Super Bowl more next week, too. We have a wide receiver review. We're going to dive into Drake London a little and our expectations for him next year. And then we're doing our quarterback review. We have the top 24 quarterbacks on a point per game basis, along with some honorable mentions for you to discuss after some interesting names that did not make the list. So very, very fun, packed evening for you with us tonight. But as we've been talking about already, diving into, we have Patriots Seahawks rematch Super Bowl from just over a decade ago. I think it was the 2015 Super Bowl that was Seahawks Patriots. But yeah, as we talked about, the Patriots Broncos game was very slow, very dull, very defensive. Whereas the Seahawks Rams, the Rams were in it until the end. It was there were some very uncharacteristic drops by Puka Nacua, by Devontae Adams, in that game, which definitely hindered and slowed them down. Their rushing attack was good. I say good, not great, in that they had 114 yards, but it still was, it still wasn't amazing. But I mean, part of it was, it was just it was a tough fought game on all accounts.
I think maybe a good way to approach this, considering we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl teams, the Seahawks and the Patriots, ad nauseum for this, next week, especially because it's the only game to talk about. Let's maybe touch on our thoughts on the 2 losing teams as far as like what do we project for next year. Do we see like the same cast of characters? I mean, I think we probably do on both sides, barring Devontae Adams saying he wants to retire or Stafford saying he wants to retire. But I think both of them played so well this year and got so close that they'll probably want to run it back. So I don't really see anything much changing there. I don't think Devontae Adams finishes as high as he did, next year. I'd assume he doesn't score 14 touchdowns in 14 games, but who knows? I mean, Adams is kind of, I've always considered Adams and Mike Evans like the outliers when it comes to, touchdowns are fluky. Those dudes just score. He's got the nose for the end zone at the receiver position. So I'd assume Adams ends up getting drafted as like a wide receiver 2 next year. Kyren probably underdrafted as always. Stafford will probably get overdrafted considering he finishes the quarterback 1, which just takes, for a complete pocket passer like him, that shit just takes pure lightning in a bottle to happen. I just don't see it happening back-to-back years. So I think Stafford is probably going to end up being a void for me because he's probably going to be ranked as like quarterback 6 or 7 or something like that all offseason. But, still a quarterback 1 as long as he's upright with those weapons and in that McVay system.
Yeah, poor Adams' 0-5 career in conference title games. I think I saw. It's like he's a vet that, I mean, just get him to a Super Bowl appearance. I mean, he might fall along the lines of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, like these studs that never even make a title game. I think the Rams will continue to get better. They have Corum looks great. It sucks for fantasy, but a nice timeshare to keep Kyren fresher. Corum, a lot of people wrote him off after his first year. He looked a lot better. Terrence Ferguson looks awesome. He might be like a top 12 tight end next year. As long as Stafford's back, stays healthy, he can't go down like that. He's already got a Super Bowl win. As long as he can keep playing at a high level, I think Stafford's got at least one more run. They can land a top free agent. A free agent's like, hell yeah, I want to go to LA and play it in the sunshine and under that offense. I think the Rams have at least a deep playoff run again next year. Defense is solid. They're only going to get better.
Yeah. I mean, Stafford had 16 rushing yards that game, which is, I think he ended the season with 1 rushing yard. So that was amazing to see. But, their offense did just about everything they could. I mean, again, over 350 passing yards, over 100 rushing yards. Sure, they had a turnover, lost fumble. But really, I think for the Rams to succeed, they had injuries on their defense. They need to get a couple defensive pieces to really increase this run, because as we saw in a lot of these matchups, these teams which had defensive prowess moved forward. Like the Seahawks have an amazing defense. The Packers defense didn't really the Packers defense, like when you're looking at the teams that lost, they didn't have an amazing high defense, and defense really pushed teams forward. And that's what we see kind of the falter of the Rams. So that's where I think the Rams really need to move forward to really dive into next year. And that's an interesting thought you mentioned, Patrick, that you think Ferguson is really the tight end of the future and not Parkinson.
No, Parkinson's a jobber blocker tight end who I don't know.
So?
I don't know why they signed him to such a big deal. Ferguson, I mean, for a rookie tight end to get involved as much as he has, Fannin did, Gadsden did for a while, and Ferguson was kind of treading water most of the year. Tyler Higbee was playing good. He got hurt. Parkinson, he has to be a good – he's like 6'8", I think they said in the – he's a huge mountain of a man. So he's in there on blocking assignments. But Ferguson almost has like wide receiver skills at tight end. He's very fluid, athletic. I think most of the catches he's made or catches he's almost made, he's making a diving, leaping catch. He's a legit talent.
I just had to look it up. Parkinson had 8 touchdowns, so that's what made him relevant this year. He had 43 catches, 408 yards, but 8 touchdowns. So
that's
I think
not sustainable.
Probably not, but I mean, Stafford obviously trusted him and threw him the ball in some like key spots. I think if anything, he's just going to make it so that Ferguson can't be a top 12 tight end. Is really what it comes down. I think they'll more or less just fuck each other over. Then one of them really like take over. And like you said, whether we agree with it or not, they gave him a pretty large bag of money for a middle tight end. So he's obviously going to be there and going to be involved. I don't disagree with you. Ferguson has a lot of potential, exciting young player. Maybe 2 years from now, whatever they move on from Parkinson, he really does take over that role. I believe Higbee is finally out of there this year too. I think he's on last year of his deal. He's the type of guy that like the 49ers might sign him to, steady the room while Kittle's recovering or something like that. So I think it'll at least just be the two of them there. But we're also talking about a team that has Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams on it. So how many targets are even going to the tight end?
Yeah, and that's something I was just looking up to see. In the playoffs, Ferguson has 1 catch on 6 targets. Parkinson has 4, 7, another 4. So it's 6 targets for Ferguson, 14 for Parkinson. Parkinson had 5. Parkinson had 8 catches for about 150 yards. So, granted, that could very well be playoffs, rookie in the playoffs, trusting Parkinson, who's older, and getting Ferguson into the picture some. But yeah, with Puka there, with Adams there, with what Parkinson seems to have, I'm just worried about Ferguson getting any volume consistently coming his way, that I worry about him for the sake of next year. I know a lot of people are high on him. I know a lot of people who are very high on him. I'm just worried about, with that offense, with all the other weapons, with Parkinson seeming to be serviceable on the Rams side of things. We're talking NFL side of things. He seems serviceable enough that I wonder if Ferguson will be gated enough that he's not going to be relevant for another 2, maybe 3 years for fantasy purposes.
Look at us talking tight ends.
Yeah, how about it?
Discount tight ends.
Yes.
Get it right. But yeah, and then Seahawks, we talked a little last week. It is Charbonnet is most likely not going to be there to start the season, and Walker's off his contract. So it's going to be very interesting to see. Seattle needs to address that running back room to some extent to start the season because of that Charbonnet injury. That you're going to really wonder what happens. Are they going to re-sign Walker? Or are they going to get like a Gainwell or Tyler Algier or someone like that to come in? Or are they going to draft someone in the 2nd or 3rd round? Because that's what they did with Charbonnet. I think Charbonnet was a third round draft pick.
Second.
2nd or 3rd round draft pick. They thought he dropped. They drafted him a year after Walker. Like, that was huge in dropping Walker's stock, that they could very well do that again. They kind of need a wide receiver 2 as well, because Kupp and Shaheed are the old. Kupp is old. Shaheed is that punt returner, kick returner, wide receiver 3 type of player. They need that second person behind JSN. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do in the draft as well. But I think that wide receiver 2 addressing the running back position in the offseason, and that could tight end, but in reality, the rest is O-line and defense, and their offense for fantasy looks good.
For sure. And if they could very well end up just re-signing Walker out of necessity, especially if he has a big Super Bowl. I mean, if he's a big part of them winning a title and Charbonnet's out, I don't see how they don't throw him a little, whatever decent money is for a running back these days, or even like the franchise tag, something along those lines. But we'll see if they lose the Super Bowl and Walker doesn't look good or has a couple key fumbles. We'll see. He could end up walking there. I do think with the Hawks, they do sign. I'd assume they're going to re-sign Shaheed. I know he's on a contract, but they spent decent draft capital, I believe, to bring him in. So I don't think they would do that and then just move on from him. Maybe they integrate him more into like that wide receiver 2 role all off season. Considering he got there in the middle of the year, they didn't have enough time to really integrate him as much as they want in the offense. Because we've seen him be, sure, he's a field stretcher, but he was a pretty key component of the Saints offense in the time he was there. So I don't think he's incapable of being their wide receiver 2. And then that would just let them focus more money on whatever they want to, offensive line, defense, and maybe they let Walker walk and they bring in a Breece Hall or like a ETN or a higher name, but we'll see. I say all that, I guess, to say that I'm kind of a little higher on Shaheed, probably than consensus. I think I'll try to make a couple extra trades for him this offseason just on the shot that he does take a step forward in that offense. I think I had a guy like put him on an automatic auto accept trade block in a league for any third. So I sent a 26th third for Shaheed. I'll do that fucking all day.
Oh, yeah.
I'm doing for that. So we'll see. If he ends up just being a kick returner, punt returner, oh well. We'll see. If it costs you a third, it's not going to fuck up your dynasty future.
For sure. Moving to Patriots Broncos. Broncos have a very, very bright future, and they have a good set of younger wide receivers. I mean, they had Pat Bryant, who was injured, but you have Pat Bryant, you have Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin. Those are all serviceables. Sutton did well. We have RJ Harvey, who's sure older. Their offense, for fantasy purposes as well as just in general, looks solid outside of their tight end not doing much. Especially if Bo Nix can come back. Bo Nix took off this year as opposed to kind of what people expected from him. That was he did very good. And their defense, again, top 5 defense. So Broncos, again, young team, have a bright future ahead of them. And if I remember correctly, I heard today they fired their offensive coordinator. I think, sure, the Patriots defense is good, but to only get 7 points down, sure, you have a backup QB, but the weather was really a factor for only a third of the game, or really, really a factor for a third of the game because of how much snow that there was. That I understand that move. Moving on to someone who can be a little more creative with those young weapons. But I fear for the Broncos. Fear playing the Broncos and what they will do in the next 3-4 years. I think they're really set up to be a contender in the AFC, which makes the AFC West just that much stronger of a conference.
I don't know. I disagree. The defense is great, and Nix is great, and Sean Payton is first ballot Hall of Fame coach. But here's how I see it. They only have RJ Harvey in the backfield, who's like a viable guy. I don't think Dobbins stays. Harvey's a little older for a running back. The wide receiver room of Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, it's good, not great. Sutton's older. Franklin was hot or cold. Mims is almost just like a return guy. I really like Bryant, but I don't think it's strong enough to contend year over year. Evan Ingram is almost irrelevant. They can bring in some great free agents, just like the Rams might. Like, oh, hey, the Broncos are going to be a contender for years to come. They could attract good free agent talent. They could completely just draft all offense. It could be a murky, untested, unproven. I think there's a ton of question marks with the Broncos. I don't think there's a single position outside of Nick's that's safe. Harvey's going to get some run, but no one's as set as like obviously a Nakua or a Najigba or even a Devontae Adams, or it doesn't feel like they have any studs.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think we'll all look at Sutton will probably be drafted like a low end wide receiver 2 next year, as he should. I'd assume they maybe make some type of moves in free agency, but who knows? I think the two main factors, or I'll call it 3 main factors, why I think they will be successful for the near future for at least a few seasons is Bo Nix can play. They have a quarterback in place that can play. That's, I'd say, almost first and foremost in NFL success at this point. If you don't have a quarterback, you're probably not winning shit. Second is that Sean Payton, like you said, he's a Hall of Fame level coach. He seems to be one of those Andy Reid type of like stabilizing, everybody looks at him as like a father figure type of, calming presence, knows his shit. So they've got the quarterback in place, they've got the coach in place, and the Denver Broncos, I just saw a chart. They're up there among the very highest teams in the NFL in Super Bowl appearances, just because they won those couple. With Elway, they won the one with Peyton. They went and lost another one with Peyton. And then in my youth, the Broncos went to and lost multiple Super Bowls. So I just say that to say that they're a very well-run, good organization. And if you factor in having a locked-in young quarterback, a Hall of Fame coach, and a well-run organization that doesn't make idiotic draft moves and free agency moves and Jerry Jones type of fucking moves.
Yep.
It's those 3 factors and the fact that they have a very good defense, and I think they'll figure it out. I don't disagree that when you just look at it on the offensive side of the ball, or even just in fantasy football for our purposes, there's no Puka, there's no JSN, of course. Yeah. Harvey's not fucking Jahmyr Gibbs. But I think for NFL success, they're going to be just fine. And for our purposes, we probably stay a little frustrated and don't get any superstars.
Yeah.
Look at Brian doing John Elway a solid there. He gave him a mulligan for the Brandon Allen and Chad Kelly and all Brock Osweiler nonsense. That was painful.
Yeah, there was some stupid shit done there. But in the grand scheme of things, they're a pretty well-run organization.
Yes.
For sure. Dynasty Dog agrees with you guys. RJ Harvey is getting a run mate this offseason. I would agree with that of some extent. Yeah. I think they need that secondary guy. But yeah, there's a couple interesting things for the Broncos. First off, do you guys know they're paying, or they have a dead cap at $32 million because of Russell Wilson for this year?
Crazy.
Yeah, which is more than they paid their quarterback, running back, and tight end room combined. So they have a good cap space open up from there. And Dynasty Dog, stop reading my mind. I was about to say, if Bill Belichick isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, Sean Payton isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. Let's just put that off to the side because of what we learned today. Granted, he probably will be in the extent, but I wanted to bring that up. That was
was today the day to find out if Belichick was going to
Belichick did not make the Hall of Fame on the first ballot.
Okay, yeah. That's fucking insanity. Well, let's also say that then. Then if Belichick didn't get in as first ballot, no coach of our generation of watching football deserves to get in on the first ballot then.
Apparently.
Yeah, so
apparently, but
ridiculous.
The last thing I want to mention, sure, the wide receiver room for the Broncos, name-wise, looking at it, leaves much to be desired. But on a passing yards per game, guess where the Broncos ended up at just in the regular season? Ended up points per game wise. Do you think they're top 10, top 15, bottom 10? Where do you think they might have ended up?
So quasi cheating right now. I had Bo Nix's stats in front of me, and he threw for 3,931 yards this year, and I think he accounted for all of their yards because Stidham didn't play at all.
That would have included playoffs, but it's very close to that. Yeah.
What I'm looking at is just his 17 games that he played in the regular season, 3,931.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just looking on Sleeper, but anyway, I would say just shy of 4,000. That probably put them like middle of the pack, maybe slightly above middle, 13th, 14th, somewhere in that ballpark. But I could be way wrong.
Okay, Patrick.
I remember documenting like Bo Nix was not playing good at all. His advanced metrics early in the year were atrocious. And then like we said, Sutton, Franklin, Mims. It was like a surprise wide receiver every week. I would say like 17 to 20.
Broncos finished 11th in passing yards per game. They finished ahead of the Jaguars, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Packers, the Chargers, all more passing yards per game. So while the wide receiver room, we think fantasy-wise, okay, can I start any of these wide receivers reliably? Maybe Sutton in my flex. There were times I had to flex Troy Franklin. I was hoping Marvin Mims sometimes, sure. From a fantasy perspective, we don't think that wide receiver room is consistent or good, but just from a NFL perspective, their offense is good. It was their running game that really held them back. I think they're in the bottom half in rushing yards per game. And Harvey, sure, Jacob Dobbins was great to start the season. RJ Harvey was great to end the season, but there were lulls in there in that transition that, yeah, if RJ Harvey can get a good running mate, even if J.K. Dobbins stays, or again, I keep bringing up Kenneth Gainwell because he really ended the season quite strong. If Tyler Algier, again, is another great one that you bring in something like that to have a 1-2 punch with Harvey, or if you want someone a slightly lower tier, that there are ones out there that they can get that if they can just buff up their running game a little, that again, it's going to be a very scary team to face.
The Broncos are like better at real football than fantasy at the moment, even though you had
100%.
that stat of 11th in passing yards.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Harvey averaged 3.7 yards per carry on the year. And I think the Broncos, at least coming into the season, were considered to have one of the better offensive lines in football. I think they were graded up near the very top in Pro Football Focus or whatever that what you always hear talking about the offensive line grades. So if he's getting 3.7 a clip behind a studly offensive line, that's not great. But Harvey was really he got in the end zone a lot, and he also was pretty involved in the passing game. He had 47 catches, 350 some yards, and another 5 receiving touchdowns. So 12 touchdowns on the year. Harvey finished right around running back 20, 21 in that ballpark, depending on your scoring. So he'll be arrows up this offseason. Unless they bring in a real big name, he'll be potentially even like overdrafted next year, and almost definitely overdrafted in offseason dynasty startups, just given that I know he's older for a rookie, but he's still a running back only going into his second year on a rookie contract. So for people like me that look at it in 6-month windows for running backs, he's as good as any running back as far as where he's at age-wise or in his career-wise.
He took a lot of Wildcat snaps too. I don't know why teams still do the Wildcat, but RJ Harvey was their guy.
Yep.
He was a quarterback in high school and early in college, so might get you a passing touchdown one of these days.
He probably will.
Yep.
Sean Payton likes that degree.
Then my Patriots. Looking at their future, again, Drake May is looking amazing. I think him sitting for 8, 9, 10 games last season was great for his potential, and he really was developed well. Again, potential or MVP finalist right now. Our running back room is looking great. Stevenson is looking actually pretty good. Everyone, including me, thought by this point it would be Henderson, and only Henderson in the backfield. But Stevenson has looked very, very good and has, I think I saw something, he has 33 to 23 carries versus Henderson in the postseason. So that's very telling that they're really trusting of Stevenson. Henderson is going to be that big play guy, get him out in space. But the reliable person in that offense this year, at least, was Stevenson. And with the contract that he's on, I'm expecting that to be the case to start next year as well. Our defense has had some injuries, could use some help, but is doing well. I really think while we do have some wide receivers that turned out well, I think that needs to be a point of focus on the offseason for us. I think when you look at our wide receiver room, it's some very young guys and then Stephon Diggs, and there's not really much in between, and it's very hit or miss. Sure, there were some very big weeks by some guys and such, but Boutte made an amazing catch for a touchdown. We need to address that, and Hunter Henry's reliable. I'm fine not touching tight end position. Get a little help in the wide receiver room, and then focus defense. And I think again the Patriots very young outside of Stephon Diggs on the offensive side, and Hunter Henry. That again a great future that we have.
So TreVeyon Henderson in the championship game, aka the most important game of the year for the Patriots, the game that mattered the most, with shitty weather conditions, mind you. He had 3 carries for 5 yards, and my Aunt Deb had as many targets as him. So I don't know what really changes that much in the offseason. Like Vrabel, I guess, the offensive coordinator, McDaniel, they obviously trust Stevenson infinitely more. Now, of course, offseason, not a rookie anymore. They integrate him. We saw the home run power that he offers. But I mean, what the numbers say a lot, man. In the fucking championship game, in a close game where like they needed a score, man. They needed something to happen. They gave him 3 carries and not a target, and he's like a pass catching running back. So I don't know. It's just a frustrating season overall for Henderson, because in redraft you drafted him to like be a starter for you. He was so bad for so long, you probably didn't even start him once he started scoring touchdowns, and then he was still sporadic. It was still a lot of Stevenson just getting the majority of the work. And as you mentioned, man, Stevenson's still under a pretty heavy contract running back money-wise. So at least next year, man, I don't have very high expectations for Henderson at all. I think I have very few dynasty shares of him that I'll hang on to, but there's no way on earth I'm spending startup capital to acquire Henderson or trading what people are going to want for him. Maybe in 2027, a different story altogether, but not after what I saw this year.
Yeah. For reference, I think for the cold weather game, Stevenson is the bigger back. He has 20 pounds, a couple inches on Henderson. I think that played a factor in that they wanted a bigger guy. Like the snow really slowed everyone down, that Henderson wasn't going to really get out in space as much, especially as a rookie, trusting him. I think that played a large factor in running it with Stevenson over Henderson. I would expect Henderson to get more work against the Seahawks and potentially rip a big one or two, because they're going to need some big plays to make this a interesting game. But yeah, I think that was a factor. But go ahead, Patrick.
Yes, Stevenson has the fumbling issues. He only had 3 fumbles this year in the regular season. I think he knew that Henderson was breathing down his neck. He's a much better talent. And Stevenson upped his game. He's like, you're going to take the starting role away from my cold, dead hands. And when you're playing in a foot of snow, hands were very, very cold. And many, many moons ago, in the Bill Belichick regime, there was no more uncertain backfield than the New England Patriots. It was a turnstile. It was a revolving door. It was one of the most frustrating backfields to own. And I think Mike Vrabel is bringing that same message.
Yeah. I even thinking it's going to be a 50-50 next year, kind of like a Sharb Walker for this year in redraft of who do I want? Is Stevenson going to fade out because Henderson has a year under his belt and has gained respect, or is it going to be Stevenson? What's going to happen? It's going to be very interesting where you'll see those guys drafted in redraft and the preference. I think they'll be going very close to one another.
But wait, there's more. Didn't Antonio Gibson get hurt?
He did.
Yeah.
So they're going to bring in a third guy who isn't good, but has just enough fantasy relevance where you're going to say, God damn it, they got him too? That all smells like a discount on draft day for Stevenson and Henderson.
Gibson is on such a small contract. He's a $1 million cap hit. If you cut him, that
they're going to bring in they're going to bring in somebody. It's going to be a three-headed backfield to an extent, at least into training camp / week 1, and it's going to scare a lot of people away.
I could see it. Yeah. Yeah. So we got an amazing Super Bowl matchup. I know so many people are going to pick the Seahawks over the Patriots. While I don't necessarily know if I'm going to do that, I'm at least going to make a little bit of a case for the Patriots, because when you're looking, you're seeing so many things about the Patriots. If you've been looking around, that they had such an easy schedule through the regular season, the off season, they played first year head coaches to backups, and Drake May and the Patriots, this is the lowest points scored in the 3 games leading up to the Super Bowl ever, that they only had, I think it was like 50 some odd points. And so it was like their offense is doing nothing and Drake May's not doing anything. And you could make that case. I mean, Drake May against the Broncos had 86 passing yards, but he also had 65 rushing yards and a touchdown. So at 65 rushing yards was huge in a snow game. But on the flip side, the Patriots are the first team ever in NFL history to beat 3 top 5 defenses to get to the Super Bowl. So in that extent, you could say Drake May, terrible, hasn't done much, doesn't deserve MVP, but also he played 3 top 5 defenses in his first 3 games in the playoffs, and he didn't lose them the game. That's the key here. He helped propel them to victory, but to some extent, but he didn't lose them the game. He didn't pull a CJ Stroud and have 5 interceptions and 5 fumbles in 2 games. Like, he held onto the ball. He did what he needed to do. And to that extent, facing the Seahawks is kind of very similar in that they have Darnold, who the Patriots has spooked before. JSN is huge. Chris Gonzalez is going to be on JSN. That's going to be a very, very interesting matchup. One of the top corners in the league against JSN. That's going to be so interesting to see. But in this Super Bowl, it's going to be Drake May, don't lose us the game. And our defense and what the offense can do will hopefully win us the game. I mean, there were years in Tom Brady's early years that it was defense wins championships. People were saying, so many people, not so many people, there were times in the first couple of Super Bowls for Tom Brady, he was propelled by his defense. Similar extent here. So I'm not saying I'm picking my Patriots, but there is a case to say this isn't going to be a blowout. This isn't going to be everyone picks Seattle. Like, the Patriots do have a chance just because of the road of how they got here. It wasn't just an easy road. That it was easier, but it wasn't an easy road to get here.
4.5 point favorites is the first line that I saw for the Seahawks. Which I don't know, in the grand scheme of Super Bowls, I don't know if that's like way big line for a Super Bowl or that's similar to what it normally is or what. But yeah, I mean, the Seahawks are definitely the favorites. But I'd go as far as to say, in that dog shit of a game to watch with fucking lack of offense and anything exciting, I would go as far as to say Drake May's legs won them that game, period. It was like the only thing that was working for like either side of the ball. I mean, when they needed a big play, he got them their only touchdown with his legs. He got them clutch first downs. He got them that first down that sealed the win because the Broncos still had a chance to stop them and have a, get the ball back and get a field goal if May didn't get that last first down run. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say he fucking won them that game. Nobody else on the offense did a fucking thing. Mac Hollins was their leading receiver. I just talked about Henderson and his 3 touches for 5 yards. Ramondre got a bunch of touches, but he was wildly inefficient with them. He had like 25 carries and 70 yards or some shit. So, yeah, I mean, May won them that game with his legs as far as I'm concerned.
Very good point.
It's weird not hating the Patriots. I felt I was happy. I was happy for Vrabel. I was happy for Drake May. Happy to see Diggs get his Super Bowl appearance. He's not standing on the field getting confetti rained all over him as he's hanging his head in shame. The Seahawks, they're a fun story with Darnold and the Jigba, and Mike McDonald is a gem of a coach. He is phenomenal. Coach of the year, if not this year, in years to come. He is like the epitome of taking a risk on a guy instead of signing a retread like, Chip Kelly or Pete Carroll or Brian Dable. McDonald, I think the Seahawks win the Super Bowl on the back of McDonald. I think he'll just find a way to get it done.
It's impressive what he did with, and I know he's a defensive guy. He was the Ravens D coordinator before he came there. But let's face it, no one looked at the Seahawks defense and their personnel going into this season. We're like, oh man, that defense is going to be trouble. They're going to be a top defense. No one thought that at all. If I looked at their defensive roster, I'd be like, it's middle of the pack at best. But he immediately turned them into a fucking ferocious, fear them type of defense. And he obviously is also a good, leader of men, rally the troops behind him, got everybody buying in. So, yeah, how could you not be impressed with what he's done since the moment he walked in the door there?
Yeah, very impressive on both teams. I think
Very
very few, if any, people picked either of these teams to make the playoffs at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, be here.
playoffs.
Yeah.
Playoffs. Hope we just win another game.
And if we're greasing up McDonald, I mean, you have to say the same about Vrabel.
Yes.
He stepped into a last place team and got him in the fucking Super Bowl, year one. And what did they add? They added Henderson, an offensive,
Diggs.
an offensive lineman, Diggs.
Yep.
And we're not talking about. He didn't add Devontae Adams. He didn't add Saquon Barkley. He just showed up with a last place team and fucking completely 180'd them. So, amazing. I think it's even harder to. He's probably coach of the year over McDonald. I think with the less talent ended up going to the Super Bowl, but I'd assume it's between those two. I mean, easy to say that they're both in the Super Bowl now, but
Yeah.
with the personnel they're both working with, for those two to end up in the Super Bowl is wildly impressive.
For sure. So we got Patrick. You're picking this Seattle. Then you
Seahawks,
mentioned.
I just hope both teams have fun.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl's in San Francisco. Seattle plays there twice a year. They're familiar. It's not that big. I mean, both teams are obviously well rested. It's not the West Coast team traveling east, but the Patriots will be a little out of their element. I like Seattle. I don't think they can contain Njigba. I think that'll make a difference.
I'll reserve my making my pick, but I mean, I lean Seattle at this point. We'll see if anything comes up. See if anybody offensive lineman pulls a hammy in practice or something that could sway it. But
yeah, we'll make final ones next week. Seeing more, hearing more about things and such. I think I'm not going to go against my Patriots. I'm going to pick them to win. I think the key is not they need to keep JSN in check. I think they need to keep everyone else in check. You can't have JSN with 150 yards and then 2-3 other receivers with 50, 60 plus yards like the Rams did. If JSN has 150, the next receiver needs to have 20 yards total. Like JSN, if JSN burns you a few times, he's going to. But keep everyone else in check. I think they're going to be able to do that with how they're going to scheme around Darnold. It's going to be a very close game coming down to the wire. But as of right now, I lean my Patriots.
Fair enough.
So, okay. So we're going to dive into a quick wide receiver review for you for the sake of what we expect this wide receiver to do next season before we dive into our quarterback positional review, diving into points per game, top 24 quarterbacks, plus some honorable mentions, talking about just our thoughts on the quarterback position, thoughts on these quarterbacks for redraft and dynasty value. If you have any questions or anything, again, please comment them. We'll post them up and do our best to reply and give our thoughts on them. But diving into this wide receiver review, we're diving into Drake London. And what I wanted to do posting, and I was thinking about this, and looking at Drake London, I don't have a 2024 versus 2025 stats. I don't have last week or week before where we did Michael Wilson versus Marvin Harrison Jr. I have what Drake London has done with Kirk Cousins versus with Michael Penix. And granted, there's a chance Kirk Cousins gets moved this offseason, but also with Michael Penix's injury, they're going to need another quarterback to start the season. It doesn't seem like Penix will start the season. He might miss most of the offseason, but this is kind of an early look. If Penix misses the start of the season and Cousins is the one playing, which if I was Atlanta and Penix was going to miss the start of the season, I'm not moving Cousins. You're going to need someone else in there anyway. The stark difference in what London has done with Cousins versus Penix. I took the last 2 years, separated them out of this is what London did with Penix, this is what London did with Cousins at quarterback. And we're talking full games here. And it is huge. I mean, if you look at the very bottom, that's almost 7 points per game difference having Michael Penix at quarterback versus Kirk Cousins. You're looking at more yards after the catch, like every single stat is a chunk larger with Penix. And part of that might have been London's health, his development, but also like yards of that after the catch is affected by the quarterback depending on where they throw the ball. If it's behind you where you have to dive or too far in front of you where you have to dive for it, you're not going to get any yards after the catch. Whereas if they get it to you right where you need to, it's the show where I'm going to be very hesitant early on drafting Drake London in Dynasty or redraft, holding reservation. We need to know what's happening in the quarterback position because if Penix isn't going to be ready to week 4, 5, 6 or later, London is dropping down my redraft just because of what he has done with the other quarterbacks. That's what makes this very interesting is I thought it'd be very similar. No, you're talking, again, 14 versus 20.5 points per game warrants you dropping him a couple rounds in redraft if Penix is not there to start the season.
So the thing I definitely want to point out, since we're talking about not just this season, but the prior season, Kirk Cousins coming off that Achilles injury to start the 2024 season, I guess that would be, was fucking horrific. He wasn't even remotely close to ready to play yet. I think anybody that has eyeballs will say that Kirk Cousins was not ready to come back, yet the Falcons were just kind of forced to play him because Penix just wasn't ready yet, and they had just given him that $100 million or whatever contract. So I feel like that factors in a huge amount to these numbers. Then also you factor in when Penix did come in towards the end of the year of 2024, I mean, he had that little bit of a heater going, and then Penix had one of the greatest Week 18 performances of all time at the end of the 2024 year, which factors into these numbers. And then flip it forward to this year, I thought Kirk Cousins looked notably better. Not that Kirk Cousins was cooking, but he looked like a competent, normal NFL quarterback and produced okay when needed. Then London's injury happened kind of in unison with like Penix getting hurt. So the London that we got with Cousins for that back end of the year was very hit or miss, not clearly wasn't explosive. And London had a really good beginning of the season with Penix. You know, there was, I think, back-to-back weeks where he was the number one wide receiver overall in the week. And just, I know I'm statting a little bit here, but I don't think it's this drastic. I think if we have a healthy, functional Cousins, which I think we have at this point, if he's the one that starts, and a healthy, functional London, I don't think he should be as faded as these numbers say. I think there's a lot that goes into this drastic difference of numbers, and a lot of it has to do with Cousins fucking sucking last year, and then London being, drugged down by his injury in the back end of this year. But stats are stats, man. I'm not. I just had to bring that up because this looks so. This looks like Michael Penix is fucking Tom Brady, and Kirk Cousins is Shedeur Sanders. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's a lot closer than these numbers really tell the story of.
Don't you talk bad about Pro Bowl Shedeur Sanders.
Oh, I'll take a shot at that douchebag every chance I get. Fucking Pro Bowl. The second he did that stupid mime interview when Dylan Gabriel got the start, he was fucking dead to me. That was the most pathetic, childish, immature, petty, jealous bullshit I've ever seen from an NFL quarterback on a real interview with the press. So yeah, fuck that guy.
The more I look at it, the more I hate it. It's kind of a good thing that we were able to hold off on this review. We've been planning on it for a week or two, but the Falcons have made a lot of coaching hires in the meantime. Kevin Stefanski, head coach, Tommy Rees, offensive coordinator, Bill Callahan, offensive line coach. Bill Callahan's a big deal in the world of offensive line coaches. I think it's the Bijan year. And man, I saw some whispers that Penix won't play all year. It's his third ACL tear. He's 26. I think there's immediate buyer's remorse from Atlanta. They had signed Cousins to this huge deal, and then they draft Penix so early. Kirk Cousins is 38. He started 8 games last year and threw for over 200 yards twice. Cousins is fading fast. He's on the same script as Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, these aging vets who their arm strength is sapped. Kyle Pitts might leave in free agency. Tyler Algier might leave in free agency. Darnell Mooney sucks. This offense could be atrocious. Atrocious. The Stefanski offense was carried by resurgent Joe Flacco and resurgent Jameis Winston, which is inflating his stats a little bit. Tommy Rees, kind of unknown. I hate this offense. I hate every last bit of it. He's exactly like he's South Garrett Wilson. Love the talent. Hate every single thing about it. I don't know what else to say.
So I looked it up real quick because I knew Cousins and London played a couple games together this year. So with the London injury, London and Cousins played the last 3 games in week 16, 17, 18 together. They had one big game against New Orleans, who actually was like has given up like the 3rd or 4th least passing yards per game. They had the Cardinals who were giving up top 10, Rams who were giving up top half, although they had some injuries and we've seen some big games. London with Cousins the last 3 games of the season averaged 8.3 points in PPR, including if you had him in your semifinals and finals. Semis, he gave you 5.7, and finals, he gave you 1.4 against the Rams. So I completely understand what you're saying, Brian, in the extent it probably isn't as big of a difference as these stats are saying because of all the injuries, because of everything else mentioned. But I do wonder if we downgrade London next year because of that. Like, Cousins does look better, but he also looked better at the end of the season, and they didn't look good together. But it's, yeah.
I'm a firm believer that I don't think London was even 70% from the main injury on. I don't think he was ever healthy.
And that could be, I don't know why they would have rushed him back, but yeah, that very well could be the case.
Because they play in the fucking NFC South, and everybody has a chance for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
Week 17.
They did almost make the playoffs. That is true.
And London has always been a dude I like carry a torch for. So I just always feel the need to try to like look on the bright side with him. But you guys certainly make valid points. I'm definitely not trying to say that I think Kirk Cousins is fucking awesome, but
yeah,
I really, these numbers are just so drastic. I really feel like it has so much to do with Cousins not even being remotely okay in 2024, and then Penix's back half with Cousins. I don't think he was even close to 100%. But it is what it is. And then here's a glass half full. If Penix is back week 5, 6, something in that ballpark, and we do fade London, he could be a draft steal at that point. If Penix comes back and these numbers bear out, and he's doing what he did with Penix earlier this year, then everybody's going to go, shit, we fucking we didn't draft Drake London high enough.
Or if Penix comes back week 5, 6, and it's week 4, and you know this stuff, you trade for him because he got drafted later. If he doesn't do well the first 3-4 weeks, maybe the person isn't winning, they need a change around, and you get London cheap.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So what we have for you, we've been going into our positional review. We have quarterbacks this week. We have wide receivers next week to finish it off. We've been going through a points per game positional review for you, with you on the season. What we have for you is with 6-point passing touchdowns, we have points per game for the top 24 quarterbacks. As you notice, there's some names missing here. We have a second slide that we'll talk about after with some honorable mentions of here are some other quarterbacks that are notable that aren't here or that we feel like we should mention and where they stand up, rack up points per game wise, which we'll talk about afterwards. But it's a very, very interesting list of 24. As you're starting to look through, you see Lamar, even on a points per game, is down to 15, right next to Jacoby Brissett. Jackson Dart is up there.
Sam Darnold's 24 with Jackson Smith and Ajigba's monster year. Help it make sense.
Because no one else did anything in the passing game there.
Right.
Yeah. I love looking at, in all positions and just for fantasy, I love looking at points per game. we all know the people that were hurt. We all know that you got a complete season out of Stafford. You got a complete season out of Caleb, whatever. But the fact is, guys like Purdy, who gave you a portion of a season, or Joe Burrow, who only gave you a portion of a season, the points per game mattered just as much because you weren't starting Brock Purdy the games he was out. You weren't starting Joe Burrow the games he was out. I find it so counterproductive looking at the just overall number one. Like, oh yeah, Matt Stafford was the number one overall. Yeah, well, yeah, because he played every game, and Brock Purdy was the, I don't know what overall, but he probably wouldn't even be on this list. But he helped you a ton because he came back and fucking balled out when he got back from injury and you could start starting him. So, yeah, this is a good overview, man. The things that stand out the most are Jaden Daniels, 20. And I know he, another guy that missed a lot of time, missed the majority of the season, but he did start some games. And when he started, you drafted him as a top 3 quarterback probably, and he was getting you quarterback 20 numbers. Lamar, as a guy, I had Lamar in my league of record that I ended up finishing 3rd in. It was almost a miracle that I finished 3rd using Lamar's bum ass because he was unusable after he got back from his injury. He was just dragging me down every week. I finally started Trevor Lawrence in my third place game, and it was the right move because Lawrence was cooking. I might have made the finals or won the finals if I had had the balls to bench Lamar for Trevor Lawrence, you know, going into the playoffs and in the first round of the playoffs. But it's hard, you know, as someone who looks at fantasy so much and studies the game and all this stuff, it's next to impossible to bench Lamar Jackson for Trevor Lawrence, but it was the right fucking move. So yeah, that's the shit like that stands out. Jacoby Brissett, what a cool story. He was a top 12 quarterback basically every fucking week after he came in. He turned McBride into an absolute phenomenon.
Michael
Wilson into a huge league-winning type of asset. So that was a cool story. Love seeing Jackson Dart play pretty well. I mean, 17. It's not like that's great or anything, but I think anybody you talk to will agree that Dart has a bright future for fantasy. I think the only worry with him is just getting his head taken off because he runs too much. But other than that, if Dart's healthy, he's a top 12-ish guy as far as I'm concerned, just with the rushing upside, and he gets Malik Neighbors back. So yeah, it's so much to absorb. But I don't want to just sit here and ramble all night about this list. But what do you guys think?
I think it shows the depth at the quarterback position that we talked about at the beginning of the year. Like when you're looking at these elite quarterbacks, these top ones. Well, Matthew Stafford, I pulled up Fantasy Pros, which has 6-7 different quarterbacks for their average ADP. Matthew Stafford was ADP 161 as a 23rd quarterback off the board. That's you're taking him as a low end quarterback 2 at that point. Purdy was quarterback 10, taken off the board. Sure, Josh Allen was number 1, but like Drake May was the 16th. Mahomes was even the 6th, which is right along there. But Trevor Lawrence, 20th. Dak Prescott, 11th. Like some of these, you got a little more bang for your buck, or you just killed it by waiting to round 7, 8, 9 to get your quarterback. Like Jaden Daniels, as you mentioned, 20 points per game, was injured. There were some leagues he was taking number 1 overall, or as the first quarterback taken off the board, right around quarterback 2 or 3. And that just didn't give you a return on your investment. Same thing with Lamar, quarterback 15. He probably lost it for you in the playoffs. Whereas, again, as you mentioned, you're better with Trevor Lawrence as the 20th quarterback taken off the board. Like, it really shows to the depth of the position that we have here to see what to expect or what to do even in redraft next year in quarterback position. Like when you're talking about 2 points per game difference between Dak Prescott at 7 and Daniel Jones at 14, that's less than 2 points per game difference. Lamar is just over a 2 points per game difference. Like that's huge. That's saying, okay, if you don't draft a quarterback early, you can get a top 7 to 12 one in rounds 7 or 8 or 9. Maybe if you get 2 of them back then, you're lucky enough to get, draft Bo Nix and Justin Herbert, or, a couple of these guys back there. Like that probably won a lot of people redraft leagues waiting this late on quarterback, especially Matthew Stafford, Brock Purdy, Drake May. Like anyone who waited on that and took him as their second quarterback, quickly it became their first quarterback. So it speaks to the depth of position that we have. And even like I'd say Jaden Daniels, Drake May breaks the mold a little, but Jaden Daniels, we saw like second year quarterbacks drop off a little outside of Drake May, of course. I mean, Caleb Williams, 8. I guess Caleb Williams is third year, never mind. But Drake May, like up to 4. But Jaden Daniels dropped back. Penix isn't on this list even on a points per game basis. He's not on this list. Bo Nix still did well, but that's still quarterback 13 on points per game. He was more available than some of these other guys above him, though. But yeah, it's again, depth of position that we have at quarterback right now in fantasy, that in one quarterback leagues, the play seems to be just waiting to draft and getting 2 or 3 and being very active on waivers for quarterbacks early on, where you could get Brissett. Dart probably didn't get drafted in a lot of leagues. You got him off waivers. You can wait on quarterback. It sure seems.
So who's your biggest riser and faller for next year? Outside of injury.
We'll do this, and then we got a question.
So I just wanted to say this, not so much on riser or faller, but to vent on Lamar some more, as someone who had him in my most important league. 15 is even almost like doing him too nicely, because what would happen with Lamar is, looking at his game log, it was, rocket ship emoji to start the year. 30 points, 32 points, 30 points, 31 points, quarterback 4, quarterback 2, whatever, right off the bat, he tore it up. Well, the rest of the year, he fucked you so hard. He was injured, and then it was quarterback 27, out for multiple weeks, had his bye, supposed to be back after the bye, missed that week too, and then when he came back, he got you that 4 passing touchdown game against Miami. So it was okay. He was quarterback like 9 that week, 8, 9, depending on scoring. Okay, we have faith in Lamar again. And then it was quarterback 15, 29, 25, 27. Fucking the skies are falling. Oh my God, I'm about to bench him. And then he gives you quarterback 7 week. Okay, well we gotta ride it out with Lamar, and then he rewarded you with quarterback 20, quarterback 29, and just fucked your season, man. Didn't even play in championship week. So like, it was just brutal, and he didn't run at all. Obviously, coming back from injury could have been that, but Lamar is older now. He's 29 currently. I'm not sure when he turns 30. But if Lamar loses his superpower of running for 800 to 1,000 yards, that's a big faller for me, man.
I won't say the obvious in Matthew Stafford, but for me, I think looking at this list, who I could see dropping down, I think there's the one that sticks out to me is Purdy, because when you're looking at who he threw to, is he threw to a 17-game healthy Christian McCaffrey. If you take Christian McCaffrey out of there, he had little to no offensive weapons for a large portion of the season just because of injury, with Pearsall, Kittle's injury coming to end his season in the playoffs. Like Kittle could retire. He might not be back to start the season. Like the 49ers have a weapons problem that if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, Purdy is dropping hard in what he can do. And a lot of his passing yards and such is partially due to Christian McCaffrey, like shorter passes to him, and McCaffrey just running it and doing amazing things with it. So I think Purdy has a strong chance of dropping. Other than that, I mean, I don't want to pick on older guys, but I think Jared Goff might have a chance of dropping a little, just dropping down some. Brissett, who knows what's happening with him, but I think the main one for me, I think Purdy has a chance of dropping. And we'll talk about this at some point later in the season. I think Baker Mayfield has a chance of rising. When you're looking at what happened with his wide receiver room, what happened with injuries, just the consistency they had of who was going to play. Like Igbuka got injured, and then he got rushed back because they didn't have weapons and didn't seem to be the same. And Bucky Irvin for 8 weeks in a row was he'll play. Oh, he's not playing. He'll like that mental whiplash for everyone, including that offense of, oh, sweet, we have a great running back. No, we don't. Like that just causes so much friction for an offense. And again, we'll dive into this a little more. Baker Mayfield is one of 2 quarterbacks where his QBR was higher than his top 3 targeted receivers, meaning his top 3 targeted receivers, which had just under 50% of his passing attempts, were not doing well. And that's not an amazing correlation. That's not, oh, this is amazing. That's just something to note that his wide receivers, Mike Evans, Auden, and Igbuka, just didn't do as well as expected. That I expect them to get more consistency. I expect Baker to jump in the top 10 for points per game for redraft next year. I think he's going to be a steal in the draft, and he's someone I'm targeting cheaper in Dynasty if I can get him, and I'll be targeting in my redraft.
Baker's a guy that I would put in the same category as London, is in that he wasn't even 65% healthy for the probably back half of the year. Baker just looked hobbled and just didn't play the same. He was an early season MVP candidate. Baker was just cooking. And all that happened was he got more weapons back healthy and somehow just looked worse and worse. You know what I mean? I think he's another one that no one, like London, I don't think any of us doubt at all the ability or talent there. When they're at their best, they're fucking cooking. But yeah, I think Baker was very much just due to injuries way more than anything else. So I agree with you. He's a guy that could easily start next year the way he started this year. Igbuka takes a step forward. Evans decides to come back. Godwin's 100% healthy, and they just have McMillan's there. I mean, they end up having arguably the best overall wide receiver room in football. And if he's healthy and throwing to the best of his ability, he could be fucking fantastic.
For sure. As mentioned, we have a question going along these lines. What do we think about Justin Herbert going into 2020? McDaniels coming in, the O-line hopefully getting healthy. They had a lot of O-line problems. A great, hopefully offensive coach there. McDaniels coming in to again, it seems like the Chargers offense gets hyped every year, but McDaniels coming in again, hopefully O-line, Ladd's there another year. Keenan Allen seemed to kind of muck up the works a little. They wanted to get him targets, but he just wasn't doing what they signed him on for. But you're a Charger legacy. We're going to get you your stuff. Quentin Johnston finally learned how to catch. Their offense did have some highlights, and it seems again like there's potential going into the offseason. I think it'll be one of the most overhyped or most hyped up offenses. But what do we think about Herbert?
They're going to – I touched on it last week. As soon as they named McDaniel the OC, this rocket ship is already a third of the way to the fucking moon. We didn't even get to training camp yet. We didn't see Ladd McConkey making one-handed catches and Amarian Hampton's quads looking like he's a fucking pro wrestler. It's McDaniel and his stupid little capri pants. It's just going to be, oh, and by the way, Slater and all are healthy. The offensive line's back, baby. We got McDaniel there. Now, I don't disagree that these are all good things for Herbert. I love Justin Herbert as a talent is fucking fantastic. He's a giant that can fucking withstand hits and run the ball and can launch a ball 70 yards accurately down the field. He's a prototype NFL quarterback, and we've seen him. I think it was his second year. He was like the quarterback 2 in fantasy. I mean, he can get it done. He's got the weapons for it. If McDaniel can, bring the innovative offensive system in, and those tackles are healthy, it could be warranted. All this hype, but I just think the hype will be. We do it every year. We just grasp onto something, and it's like, oh my God, this is going to be the greatest thing of all time, and it just gets overdone, and these players get overvalued and overdrafted. I don't know if Herbert will be the victim of that. I think Herbert still probably only goes as like a borderline quarterback 1. There's just so many names out there and guys that are associated more with rushing. Despite how much Lamar Jackson burned me this year, I'm sure Lamar will still get drafted over Herbert, and so will J-Day and a lot of these guys. So I don't think Herbert's really the one that's going to fuck anybody over. I think he'll probably be maybe even beat his draft expectations. But, dude, McConkey, Hampton, and even Gadsden, I think, are just going to be – I'm not touching any of them this offseason because they're all going to be beyond way more expensive than I want to pay for because of all this hype. But I think Herbert will be good. I think Herbert might be the only one that could beat his expectations.
Yep, I'll be on that train again. Herbert's my biggest riser with just McDaniels. Keenan Allen out of the way. The Raiders will still suck. The Chiefs are on their heels. I think the Chargers will be great for fantasy, but bad for NFL. They're like the mirror image of the Broncos.
Yeah. I think for me, I have a hard time seeing Herbert not exceeding his ADP next year. Because as you mentioned, when you're looking at quarterbacks who's going to be most likely drafted above him, Stafford's going to be drafted above him because of how he finished this year. Allen, Drake May, Mahomes won't because he probably won't be ready to start the season. So you're looking at those 3. Caleb Williams probably will be. Hurts will be. Lamar will be. You're looking at him being taken off probably earliest around quarterback 7 to 10 range. But I think, again, when you're talking about weapons, when you're talking about that, when you're talking about skill players, it's going to be very difficult to tell who to take on that Chargers offense because Ladd was hit or miss. Quinn Johnston was hit or miss. The Chargers have raved about Trey Harris. With Keenan Allen gone, Trey Harris will take a lot of slot snaps. Gadsden took a chunk of the slot snaps too. That it's going to be similar to kind of the Lions in the extent of, but you don't have that guaranteed Amon-Ra of, okay, I know he's going to do well. Like all of them have that chance of doing amazing. I mean, Hampton is the one you want. The pass catchers are going to be very difficult. But I have Herbert in my top 5 quarterbacks for Dynasty, and I think he's going to finish in that 3 to 6 range in redraft, and I think he's going to drop outside of that for redraft ADP. That there's a chance I'll be taking Herbert a couple times. Herbert and Mayfield, I'm guessing probably for my redraft will be my most drafted quarterbacks, just for that extent of I think there's going to be a lot of value out of those 2 quarterbacks. I hope that answers your question well.
Also, Lucas, my guy. Love you, buddy.
Let's see. Who thought Kyler Murray, when we're talking about him being replaced, him being washed, still finished 21st in points per game? Granted, Stroud has a very distaste in your mouth because of how he played the playoffs. But you're talking about Sam Darnold with JSN, Aaron Rodgers still. Like Murray was a startable quarterback in Superflex when he was healthy, which didn't feel like that was the case.
Where does Kyler Murray does Kyler Murray start for an NFL team week 1 this year?
That's the question.
Yeah, we don't. We have no fucking clue.
Some team in desperation, but I don't know who can take on his contract.
Did the I feel fucking
That's exactly what I was just looking up. His contract, his salary is $23 million, but his cap hit is $52 million, and they can't cut him this year. Next year they can cut him. Next year, in 27, his dead cap is only $7 million. This year, if they cut him, it's 54. So he has a massive, massive cap hit that they'd have to rework his contract or keep some of it to even potentially trade him. That's going to be the difficult part. Is you want Brissett. Brissett has done well. He's shown Michael Wilson can do amazing things with him. But Murray is just, you're paying him so much money.
Kyler did something this year that he's never really done before, and that is be consistent. So in the 5 games he played, he was quarterback 16, 22, 16, 16, 22, which for a guy that we all thought could be a fantasy rock star and can run, which is the cheat code for quarterbacks, in the 5 games he played, he showed you that he is a what are you, quarterback 21, so a lower end quarterback 2 for Superflex.
Yeah.
Touched on it, man. He's the dude that can get by barely doing any work and get C's, and he's happy with that. I don't think football has ever really been his first love, and I just given the pedigree, given the name, given the flashes he's shown, I'd assume somebody would pay him. There's lots of shitty organizations out there that would love to overpay Kyler Murray and get 5 years of mediocre service out of him. So as long as he's starting somewhere, he's at least a super flex quarterback. I don't know. Did the Cardinals hire a coach yet? Or they're still one of the teams looking?
Yeah, they're one of the teams looking. Browns, Cardinals, and Raiders are the 3 teams looking for a quarterback right now.
Or coach right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, both.
I guess,
yeah.
You could say both. It's almost exercise in uselessness discussing Murray right now because we just have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
We don't know what system's coming into Arizona, if they're just going to roll with Brissett, if they say, fuck it, Kyler's our guy, we're stuck with him in his contract, and we just put him in and try to polish the turd up and make him, tempting to trade for. I mean, we just really don't know. At the end of the day, though, I think we're beyond considering Kyler Murray a quarterback 1 for fantasy. And if he is starting somewhere, he's worth at least rolling out as a quarterback 2, just given the fact that he has those boom games and he will have a decent floor with his rushing ability. Certainly not a guy that I'm looking to buy really or excited about by any means.
Brian just coined the best nickname I've ever heard. Kyler Murray is a group project quarterback.
Yeah.
A group project. He just does a bare minimum. Hey man, can you check my work? The whole group gets a B-, and then Murray passes a class or whatever. Thank God GTA 6 hasn't come out in the time where Murray is a starting quarterback. He'd be long gone.
Yeah, he's the guy that never texts back because he's playing Call of Duty or video games or something, and then he shows up and flies by the seat of his pants well enough to not be hated enough to not be in the next group project.
I think the Cardinals have to keep Murray. They start him, and he gets phantom injury IR'd like that, and they just can slip him under the radar, cut him for the reduced rate, give the reins to Brissett or whoever the heck it is they end up with. I think a couple of the teams not mentioned on this graphic are the guys that are the teams that look for Murray's services in 2027.
As soon as it was mentioned, the team that came to my mind is the Jets.
The Jets.
But
Yeah.
they're paying Justin Fields a good amount for this year
They
too.
are.
So I mean, I think the Jets were smart. They draft a quarterback in 27, but you never know with them. So
They're taking
Yeah.
Carson back second.
For how much money the Jets paid Fields this year, they sure loved benching him any chance they got, didn't they?
The
Yeah.
Steelers did too.
Justin Fields, he farted in the huddle. Bench him. Let's get Tyrod in there.
Yeah.
Like just any chance they got to bench Fields, they did. I don't know, man. I always feel like Fields has just been kind of done dirty by like everywhere he's been. By no means do I think Fields is a elite quarterback, but Fields doesn't. I don't think he's as bad as he gets made out to be. And these teams just fucking they sign him, they have some success with him, and then the second he does anything wrong, they're like, nope, we're fucking done. Get out of here, Fields. We'll put an aged, not even good veteran in your place, and then they'll let him start for another game, and he'll have a decent game, and they just bench him again. It's pretty wild. Again, I'm not advocating Fields is a rock star, but he's pretty fucking good for our fantasy purposes, and he just seems to get unfairly shit on pretty much from the day he got drafted by the Bears. It's like the Bears couldn't wait to get rid of him. And then what did he do with the Steelers last year or 2 years ago? Or yeah, this was last year. He went like 4-1, and they
He
were like,
did fine.
yeah,
He didn't do
4-1.
that
And
bad.
fuck off. We got Russell Wilson. We got the ghost of fucking Russ here. Let's get your ass on the bench. It just seems kind of weird. And then again, he got this deal from the Jets. I don't think he was. I mean, it wasn't good, but he wasn't god awful. I don't think he was like the worst quarterback in the league. They couldn't wait to fucking bench him every other week for Tyrod Taylor.
And from everything I've seen, Fields is a good dude. He's not a cancer. He's like
No.
on the up and up, unless he has a really good PR guy that makes sure he says the right things in interviews. Fields seems like a really good dude. I don't know what like mobile quarterbacks win for fantasy, but obviously not for the NFL because
Nope.
Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson still are looking for their first Super Bowl. Statue quarterbacks still win in fantasy in the NFL.
Well, we already talked about Justin Fields a lot more than I thought we would for this episode, but we've reached the break the seal segment for me. So if you guys want to hang on this screen for a minute,
Yeah, we have an interesting question that Patrick and I can start on, and you can dive into
All right, bet.
when you get back. So we have a question from Joe. Is A-Chain a sell with the new coaching? Would Jeremiah Love and a plus be enough? So we see new coaching coming in for Miami. I believe it is Bob Slowick. Slowick, I think, is the name of it, who got promoted to the offensive coordinator, looking at kind of his yes, he was the senior passing coordinator for the Dolphins this last year, and now he's their offensive coordinator. For reference, he was offensive coordinator for the Texans in 2023 and 2024. In that stretch, when he was the offensive coordinator for the Texans, the rushing offense was 22nd, then 15th in yards. So it wasn't absolutely amazing in their overall yardage. Even touchdowns, it was on the lower end of things. I think Travis Etienne had a good year one of those years still. So that's something I want to look at briefly. But yeah, what do you think about A-Chain selling him for Jeremiah Love and a plus? Is that enough? What are your thoughts on A-Chain a little here, Patrick?
All right, so this is assuming that you're getting 1-1 for A-Chan.
Yeah, Jeremiah Love
Because
and a little something.
Nobody's drafted.
Yeah. So you're going to
I
101 plus
wasn't-
something.
1-1 plus. I mean, it would need to be an established a plug and play day one starter at any position. I mean, if it was like Trey McBride in 1-1, probably not, but maybe. There's
I would
too
easily
many
take Trey
down-
McBride and Love.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I didn't discount Achane, but Achane really proved me wrong this year. He's a tremendous talent. The Dolphins are, I mean, if this is dynasty, yeah, I think the Dolphins are in for 2 hard years. They've lost McDaniels. Tyreek Hill's probably finished. Tua was a healthy scratch for Quinn Ewers. That offense could be a shit show. Like the Dolphins could be picking top 3 in 2027. I'd love to see them get Jeremiah Smith. That'd be insane. Oh gosh. But what if Love goes to a crowded backfield? What if some team tries to be cute, some team that already has a fairly established backfield trades up for Love I'm trying to look at these.
Yeah.
Like,
To catch up, Brian.
What if Love goes to the Commanders? I don't know if I want Jeremiah Love on the Commanders over Achane on the Dolphins. No, I'm the worst trader on the show. I've given a little bit of peace. Brian's back from break.
Yeah. So, Brian, the question was, is Devon Achane a sell with the new coaching? Bob Slowick, who is the passing game coordinator for Dolphins, who is the 23 and 24 offensive coordinator for the Texans, got promoted to the offensive coordinator. Now, 2023 is the year where Travis Etienne was the number 3 overall running back in PPR. Granted, that was less running yardage wise, rushing and receiving. He was a huge receiving back that Bobby Slowick helped to facilitate. And the guy's asking Jeremiah Love plus something for Achane. So presumably he would begin the Dynasty 101 plus something for Achane. Is that enough? What would you want on top? Kind of, are you thinking Achane is going to take a step back? What with McDaniels leaving? Like, just general thoughts on Achane and then Achane for Love plus something.
So even with my little doing zero college and rookie research so far, I understand that Love is this year's premier running back in this class, given that it's considered like a weaker class in general, seems to be the consensus 101. I don't know where Love sits as far as, I don't think he's considered that like Bijan, even a Genty level like prospect.
I'm hearing him compared to Genty in prospect, not like a Bijan. Like you have Bijan Gibbs, Genty a tier below. Like I hear him similar to Genty.
Well, that's probably because Genty struggled this year. But like think about the hype on Genty coming into the draft.
Yeah,
it was like he was considered, here's the next Bijan type of thing. Yeah. So again, I don't know if he's that good or not, but he's the clear best running back in this class. He's supposed to be a first-round pick. He'll be the 101. If we're talking this is a single quarterback league, that this guy's potentially going to get the 101 for Achane, I guess the look for me is, do you want to just re-roll Devon Achane into the mystery box that, the mystery box with a good chance at being good? In a dynasty league, if I'm a contending team and I have Achane, I'd much rather just keep Achane, even though the team is probably going to not be great. They weren't that great this year, and Achane was phenomenal and consistent as fuck, and he's still young enough. Didn't get hurt, knock on wood, managed to stay healthy at that small size and just was a workhorse. He was phenomenal, and he's still very young, so I don't think Achane is aging out. And again, I look at the running back in like a 6-month window. Now, as I walked in, I heard Patrick saying, like, do you get the 101 and Trey McBride? Are you fucking high? I'll take the 101 and Trey McBride. I'll give you stuff with Achane. You can have my Achane and my 103 for that fucking deal.
Yeah,
I'm
that's what I was thinking.
Terrible trader. Terrible trader.
So-
Call myself out.
But, you know, and I think that's really what it would come down to in a realistic dynasty or, you know, any type of trade negotiation. The person holding that 101 might say, hey, I will give you more or less the rights to this Love kid. I want your Achane. And that's probably as far as the trade's going. Whoever, you might nickel and dime each other for some lower end pieces or some swapping of third round picks or something to get that deal done. But I think in reality, that's the trade you're looking at is, do you just re-roll Achane for this incoming young buck and just do a little dynasty reset, get 3 years younger age-wise or whatever the difference in their ages is? And to me, it's really just a matter of where you're at with your dynasty build. If I'm a true contender, I'm keeping Achane. If I'm a rebuilding team or still on the way up, I'll re-roll it for the 101.
I'm very close to that. I would say I'd probably want, if I'm moving Achane, I'm playing on it's a weaker class. We're not sure where Love's going to go. This early in the offseason, I'm saying I want someone that I can flex with the 101 to trade you Achane. Because when you look at the new offensive coordinator, he's huge on passing. Achane is a pass catching back. Like, that's not going to say Achane's going to fall off the cliff. He's going to keep getting those passes. He's going to keep doing his thing, presumably. So give me someone that I can flex on top of the 101 to move off Achane at this point in the offseason. When we hear more about what Love might be, even after the NFL draft, where his landing spot is, like if he lands in Kansas City, then a 1-for-1 makes a lot more sense. But depending on where he ends up and such, does play a factor. So yeah, give me a flex, please. He's even saying, commenting a couple. It's one quarterback. He's saying the best secondary flex piece to include would be like a T. Higgins. I don't hate starting with that. Nevertheless, even if you add a little more, add a late second onto it to get that deal done, that's probably something I would definitely consider right now. But yeah, if it's T. Higgins 101 and
that seems crazy too. Like I'm telling you, the 101 and the rights to Love are not that far off of what Achane's worth right now, especially in dynasty format where running back age matters a lot. This kid is instantly a 3-year age reset on Achane, maybe even 4, depending on how old Achane is or how old this kid is. That's a big deal.
3 to 4.
We're throwing in fucking T. Higgins like he's a fucking 3rd round pick. It's T. Higgins. Give me the 101 and T. Higgins. I'll add something to Achane for that. Like that seems like drastic.
Yeah, in this draft, add a late second, mid second if he wants more and get that 101 in T. Higgins. Yeah, I would do that.
So to make this a little sadder and depressing, I made a trade very similar to this last year that turned out to be super anticlimactic for both teams. So in the offseason, and I usually don't like trading for picks and stuff so much in the offseason before we even know what the draft's looking like, but I had a team that's a contender. It was very loaded at wide receiver and a little lighter at running back, and I had Brian Thomas Jr. coming off of his immensely good rookie season where we were all hyping BTJ up, except me. Remember, I called him a fade in the offseason. A guy sent me 101, which was the clear rights to Genty. 1-for-1 for Brian Thomas Jr. And this was like early in the offseason. This was like damn near around this time last year, maybe a week or so ahead of now. And I just said, fuck it. You know what? I was good at receiver. I needed a running back. I took it. And womp womp. It was so anticlimactic because I got Genty, who didn't really do much fantasy-wise, and he got the extreme disappointment of BTJ. I think at the end of the day, right now, I won that trade because I think Genty carries more dynasty value than BTJ does after the way this season went. But yeah, it was for how blockbuster of a trade that looked on paper. It didn't really do anything but just keep our team similar.
Allow me to muddy the waters a little bit. Jeremiah Love will be 20 at the NFL draft, which is in April. His birthday is May 31st. If Love goes to the right situation, I'm taking him over Brees Hall and Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, of course you are. Brees Hall and Kenneth Walker are
No
not
matter
that.
where they sign.
Yeah. Okay, keep questions coming if you want. We have our honorable mention question mark kind of quarterbacks that aren't on this list to talk about a little about
Pro Bowl.
a couple guys that are missing to see where they were in points per game. These are either some guys who rookies, other notable people for the sake of what happened. And what we see on the left is their ranking points per game wise. We're not going to show you 50 players points per game wise, but just some of these other guys where they ended up for the sake of is, what they did, where we should value them. Because like when you're looking at Tyler Shuck this last year, people really hyped him up 28th points per game wise. JJ McCarthy didn't do as bad as people thought on a points per game basis. He was injured a lot and such and had a couple big games, so that helped. But 30th, Pro Bowl quarterback Shedeur Sanders, 40th points per game wise. Geno Smith, terrible for the Raiders. 33rd, Cam Ward, even worse. 43rd, Dylan Gabriel did nothing. Just a couple of these notable guys. We can even just do just a couple thoughts on each or what whatever kind of sticks out to you guys for these couple players.
Shuck would be the first name that I touch on that jumps out. He really looked good. Like the second that he came in for Rattler, it just did a 180 for the Saints. They looked like a competent team. He made shit happen in some clutch moments. He ran with the ball. He ran for touchdowns. That was encouraging. And like I mentioned this in our very, very first or second episode when I said, what do Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix have in common over the other quarterbacks from their class, and why did they shine? It's because they played a fuck ton of games in D1 big schools and played in front of big crowds and got a ton more experience than most rookies get to say they have. Well, Tyler Shuck's 39 years old. He played so many games in college football.
It's older than that.
It was not overwhelming for him. Like, he stepped in, was like, I've been doing this for a long fucking time. And it showed. He turned, you know who likes him? Chris Olave likes him. I'll tell you that much. Him and Olave had mind meld for sure. So I like Tyler Shuck is some found money for me in all my dynasty super flexes because as a quarterback lover and hoarder, I drafted a whole lot of Shuck with early second round and mid second round picks last year because it said, hey, if they spend a second rounder on him, they're going to end up giving him a shot to play. And he took it and ran with it. I think he might be the favorite for rookie of the year, gambling odds wise. And I think it's a 100% lock that he's their starter for week one. And he more or less is going to have to do something to lose that job. So he's the big standout for me that I wanted to talk about first. Who do you guys want to touch on?
For me, there's two. Bryce Young had some very high games, but some very low lows. Like, there were some games he scored huge. You were like, I sat him on my bench. What happened? And then other times where you're like, why didn't I put him on my bench? For Bryce Young, I think he needs another weapon or two, and I think he'll be consistent as a mid to lower end quarterback 2 for Superflex. I mean, because when you're looking at who he's throwing at, you're throwing at McMillan, and then I think the only other guy I can remember is Cooker.
Yeah.
I think, who's not great.
He's
not.
he's good. He's solid.
As a wide receiver 4, I'll give you he's solid.
And
but yeah, I mean, get him a couple weapons, get him something to work with, get him someone he can see. Kyler Murray problem a little shorter, but I think 27 is low for what he could do. The Panthers were really set behind with that trade to the Bears, giving up what was it, 2 firsts and DJ Moore for Bryce Young. That set them behind a lot. That imagine if Bryce Young had DJ Moore and Ted McMillan right now. Like I've mentioned that before, like Chicago, trade them back to the Panthers. That would be amazing for both of you guys. If they get another weapon, I like Bryce Young more as a mid to lower end quarterback too. On the flip side, I don't think he can get worse for Cam Ward. Just with who he had to throw to, what he had to do. Like his offensive line wasn't great. He had Calvin Ridley until Ridley broke his leg, and I think he retired technically.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, he had Alec Aomanor as a rookie who did all right, and I can't even tell you who else he was thrown to. And I'm a wide receiver guy. Like, he didn't have much of anything. He had Chig, who did decent, but, I mean, get these guys some weapons and let's see what they can do. I think those guys are 2 to keep an eye on for Superflex as potential buy lows, just because they're at that point where if their value goes lower, it's going to be useless. And so it's at that point where you could buy them low potentially. So I'm keeping an eye on those 2.
Just through process of elimination, I am lowering my flag on JG McCarthy. He completely failed me. Geno is riding off into the sunset. I'm not sold on Bryce Young. I really like what I saw from Shuck. He was quarterback 16 or better. And 16 kind of sounds like quarterback 16, especially in a 1 quarterback league. That's not the best play. There's a lot of Superflex leagues. Superflex is becoming more popular, and the Saints have a solid defense. They can afford to go all in on offense in the draft, get him some better pieces. I really like Shuck. He was fearless. He is name brand Bo Nix. He has the mobility. He's not afraid to put his body on the line. I really like what I saw from Shuck. Cam Ward played a lot better once they got I can't remember the coach's name. Once they fired their head coach, they played significantly better. And Brian Dable, if he lands there, could be a significant helper in his development. The other receiver that they have is Chimere Dike, who I thought was a pointless pick on a glorified punt returner. DK looked awesome. I liked Ian Manor as the better prospect. The Titans are obviously picking early. They should go defense. What if they get Carnell Tate? Holy crap. That changes a lot. So I'll test the waters on a Shuck and Ward pick. The rest, gosh, no interest.
The 2 things that I like the most about Cam Ward are he is a 101 draft pick, so he will have as long of a leash as possible. They put him into as shitty of a situation as any quarterback could walk into, so he will have lots of leash. Right, he had lots of leash, and he did look very bad early on. But the other thing, the number 2 thing I like about Cam Ward is it was a improvement. He looked like a notably better, more comfortable, real deal NFL quarterback as it got to the end of the year. That'll only improve with an offseason in the program. It'll only improve with the obvious improvements they're going to give him with O-line and weapons and things like that. So arrows up for Cam Ward, and I think he's probably a decent buy low this offseason, to me at least, for Superflex, because how could anybody really ask that much for him after being quarterback 43 in points per game over an entire season sample size too? It wasn't like he only played the last couple games or something and he averaged that much. Like over the entire course of the year, he was the 43rd quarterback. So yeah, he's a buy for me, and hopefully they get him some weapons and then start turning around there.
Yeah, that'd be good to see. Yeah, one because I just had to know. I just had to look up again, kind of on the Panthers bandwagon of Jalen Cooker. There's one thing: Jalen Cooker, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, and who was it? George Pickens all have in common. They're all the same age.
That's elite company.
They're all the same age. And Jalen Cooker just finished his second year. So Cooker is an older prospect that come in, which we see tend to not happen. I mean, and Xavier Legette, that's the guy who's ahead of him on the depth chart. I always forget who he was.
I forget him too.
I'll let both of them fight for the wide receiver 3 spot if the Panthers could get Tate or Tyson or Lemon. Like if they could get a top 3, top 4 receiver, I would love to see the stock of Young and see what could happen there. I don't see it happening, but I would love to see one of the top 3 or 4 wide receivers go to the Panthers just to see, hey, Young, we've given you everything. Can you at least do something for us, please?
Can you grow 3 inches?
No, he cannot. When you called Jalen Coker a wide receiver 4, I just immediately assumed that's because he plays 4 games per season.
There you go.
He is. Listen, when he's on the field, which is rarely, he does produce.
Yeah. He has some games. That is true. I was just like, he's older, I think. So, but yeah, I mean, give him the wide receiver 3. He can take some less heat and get open a little more and get you a strong wide receiver 2 somewhere. I'd love to see that for Young. I don't see it happening. I think Young is going to kind of fizzle off, go somewhere else, and maybe do something decent. But at least you spent so much to get Young. Give him a supporting cast to say, at least we tried.
Yep.
That's my hope for the Panthers.
I dig it, man. It's a pretty deep review on quarterback. Love it.
Yeah.
As a guy that plays in 97% Superflex leagues, all these names matter to me, and I spend way more time looking at their stats and valuing and overvaluing or undervaluing them all 365 days a year. So love this shit, and hopefully our opinions can help you guys make some informed decisions in your dynasty Superflex leagues this off season, man. And obviously so much changes with the draft and free agency moves and all that good stuff, and we'll be talking about it all year.
Yeah. There are things that
Fernando Mendoza and Carson Beck in this range next year. Sorry, fellas. Oh man, those poor kids.
Hey, give them half a season to sit. I think that's a completely different story. Granted, Raiders are not going to probably want to start Gino, but if Mendoza can sit similar to Drake May, I like him. But if Mendoza starts right away, I'm waving the white flag to start. But
first overall picks start day 1. Thrown to the wolves.
Yeah. As Cam Ward is 13 point per game average.
Yeah. exactly. That'll be Mendoza next year if he starts. But yeah, I mean that we dove deep into these quarterbacks. We saw a lot of interesting things, and a lot's going to change in the offseason. But you also lose some valuable insight on these quarterbacks if you wait until mid offseason or after free agency to debate or discuss how they did. Right now, the immediacy, you get a gut feeling on these players that is still good. That is these changes, the draft, the free agency will affect it, but now's the time to review and then review again and then review again, and that's how you're going to be a step ahead of all your league mates and dynasties. Don't just do it later on. Like, get your gut feelings on these players now. Listen to us, talk to us, ask questions. Wide receivers next week, like, get that gut feeling down so when your free agency happens and people are overreacting, you don't overreact and you know who to sell and who to buy, and keep just slowly gaining values on your teams to be able to get ahead of them and win you some money.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we've eclipsed the 2-hour mark, which we tend to do. So I think we'll call it a wrap here. It's just after midnight here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. So we'll keep an eye out, keep you informed when we can end up getting joined by Tyler, which got pushed back for some weather / other off-field reasons, but we will get that scheduled as soon as possible. And until then, we'll be hitting you every Tuesday, all off season, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in as always.
Wide receiver week next week, right? I mean, we might need 3 hours for that.
Yeah. Good thing we can just recap the Super Bowl a little and then dive right in, because that's going to take forever. For sure.
Absolutely. No doubt. Well, we will check you guys next Tuesday, man. Thanks for tuning in.
Have a good weekend, guys. Enjoy.
Have a good one.